Welcome back everyone to Racing Reviews for your practice reports here in Monaco for the Formula 1 2021 Monaco Grand Prix. If you're new around here or just need a bit of a refresher on what the practice report is, in today's video we'll be analysing both of today's practice sessions, FP1 and FP2, taking a look at who's looking quick, who could be struggling, crashes and incidents throughout the day, as well as taking a quick look at your predictions from yesterday's Monaco preview. As always, if you are new, feel free to subscribe to keep up to date with all Formula 1 news and reviews, but without further ado, let's jump into your times from FP1. Red Bull's Sergio Perez led the way with a 1:12.487 on the soft tyres, but Carlos Sainz for Ferrari showing really good pace in the morning and definitely in the afternoon, second place in FP1. Max Verstappen was third, 1/10 off his teammate's best time, but on the medium tyres, it looks like once again Max has the edge over his teammate. Gasly, an impressive fourth place for AlphaTauri, with the two Mercedes struggling a little bit in the morning session. Hamilton 5th, Bottas 6th, 5/10 and 6/10 of Perez's time respectively. We'll talk in a moment's time why this is, especially in the morning session, but just keep a mental note when you're in Monaco, traffic is an absolute nightmare. So many drivers today unable to set representative laps, and as always, please don't read too much into practice because all the teams, all the drivers running different engine settings, different fuel loads, different tyre compounds over the two sessions. Norris was 7th place with a resurgent Sebastian Vettel in 8th, Yuki Tsunoda was 9th and Kimi Raikkonen rounded out your top 10. Aston Martin's Lance Stroll finished the morning session in 11th place with the second Alfa Romeo of Giovinazzi in P12. The lead Alpine Alonso down in 13th seemed to be struggling a little bit more this weekend, the two Alpine cars, with Ocon down in 16th. Latifi, his first ever trip to Monaco, was in 14th in front of the McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo in particular hit by traffic in FP1 and also FP2. Ocon, we mentioned a moment ago, was 16th in front of the two Haas cars of Mazepin and Schumacher 17th and 18th. Russell was 19th and with only 4 laps completed due to a gearbox failure, Charles Leclerc P20. However, though things did not quite go to plan for Ferrari and Leclerc in the morning session, in the afternoon, the team came alive. Leclerc, a 1:11.6 in front of teammate Carlos Sainz, the only two drivers to make it into the 1:11s. I don't want to get too carried away, but Ferrari looking really strong this weekend in Monaco. Hamilton was 3rd for Mercedes, Bottas was 5th. In between them, that pesky Max Verstappen. Even if Ferrari have the pace, it looks like once again Hamilton versus Verstappen is going to be a huge storyline over this weekend. Norris continued his strong form from FP1 to finish 6th in that stunning McLaren Golf livery, with Gasly in front of Red Bull driver Perez, who also had a tricky session in the afternoon. Giovinazzi, a great little lap from the Alfa Romeo driver, saw him in 9th, and Sebastian Vettel rounded out your top 10. Kimi Raikkonen finished in 11th, Alfa Romeo looking much stronger here in Monaco than they have at the last couple of weekends in Portugal and Spain. Alonso on his return to the Principality, a much cleaner lap than we saw in first practice where he hit the wall, 12th place in FP2. Stroll was 13th in front of the second Alpine of Ocon, and once again Ricciardo majorly compromised by traffic, but by looking at his sector times in qualifying and race trim, he looks to be right there on the exact same pace as teammate Lando Norris. George Russell was in front of Nicholas Latifi for 16th and 17th. The two Haas cars, Mazepin again in front of Schumacher in 18th and 19th, and with only 11 laps on the board after hitting the wall on the exit of turn 17, Yuki Tsunoda rounded out your field. So then, with 2 sessions down in Monaco, there is plenty of work to do with several cars hitting the wall, and as we head over to our incident report in FP1, Our major stories included Charles Leclerc, his gearbox failure, no penalty going into the race, but having a gearbox failure this early on in the season will most likely result in a penalty later down the line. Fernando Alonso, I mentioned it a moment ago, found himself in the barriers at turn 19, the final corner of the circuit. Thankfully for him, it was only front wing damage, and though it's scraped all along the circuit on his route back to the garage, but thankfully he was able to get out once again in the afternoon session. And Kimi Raikkonen had a huge lockup down towards turn 1, managed to escape the barriers, but overall a very quiet session in FP1. FP2 on the other hand, a very different story, with Yuki Tsunoda starting the session off with a trip into the barriers at turn 17, and though he was just able to scramble that AlphaTauri back into the pit lane, he was unable to get going for the rest of the session, finishing with just 11 laps in the afternoon. Latifi had a bit of a moment at the Lowe's hairpin, a lockup of sorts on his tyres, but it was midway through the corner. He described it as pushing on the car, but apart from that, not a bad first day of Monaco running for Nicholas Latifi. And the final event in FP2 saw Mick Schumacher bring out the red flags with just 5 minutes to go, crashing at turn 3 at the top of the hill just before Casino. That Haas car looks so difficult to drive, and that rear end really didn't want to turn in. The first snap of oversteer he was able to correct, but the second one sent the German into the barriers for his first taste of the unforgiving walls in Monaco. Additional note, of course, is traffic. Traffic, a huge issue for all the drivers. Schumacher himself almost getting caught out, with Sergio Perez going so slowly through the swimming pool. We saw it here 2 years ago with Romain Grosjean almost slamming into the back of the Red Bull of Pierre Gasly at the end of Q2. Gasly got a penalty that weekend. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw a few drivers this weekend get penalties in Q1, Q2 and maybe even Q3 during qualifying. But on the subject of qualifying, who's looking quick this weekend? Because times at face value can look very flashy, but under the surface there's usually a little bit more going on. And so my predicted pace order for this weekend's race looks a little bit like this. Ferrari looks so good today. However, with my best judgment looking at the season so far, I think it's still a little bit too much of a stretch to say they're favourites heading into the race. Red Bull have a car which really suits this style of circuit. Sure, twisty, narrow, it should favour their car more than any other on the 2021 grid. Mercedes, I still think they're going to be there or thereabouts. It's easy to fall into this trap of looking at the practice times and saying, Mercedes might be a little bit off this weekend. But what you have to bear in mind is this is Mercedes. This is one of the greatest Formula One teams of all time, with Lewis Hamilton behind the wheel. Never discount Merc and Hamilton, one of the masters of Monaco. Even if his car isn't the best heading into this weekend, his supreme driving skill will definitely give him a chance of pole position and a race win come Sunday. I've put Ferrari in third because they do look a step in front of that midfield, and hey, if they do spring a surprise and challenge for victory, goodness me, we're going to have a great Monaco Grand Prix. McLaren, in that stunning Gulf livery, seem to be that best of the rest in behind that top three, with AlphaTauri, especially in the hands of Pierre Gasly, looking particularly nippy around this circuit. Aston Martin have been a real enigma this year, but I think they may have the edge over Alpine this time out, who currently sit in 7th in my pace order, with Alfa Romeo, Williams and Haas rounding out your field. And just before we go, your predictions for this weekend's race. Yesterday I gave you this grid to follow with your predictions from both qualifying and the race. And your two winners this time out, first up is Christian Rechdan, who has gone with a Verstappen pole position, Hamilton on the front row, and a biggest shock of Lando Norris P3. So many of you hoping for great things for that Gulf livery and McLaren this weekend. And in the race, he has gone with a Verstappen win, Hamilton and Perez on the podium, Nikita Mazepin to be the first DNF for Haas. The best overtake is Sergio Perez on Charles Leclerc, and Pierre Gasly, driver of the day. And your second winner, a channel legend, Matty Saleh, has gone with Perez on pole for his first ever Formula 1 pole position, Hamilton on the front row, with George Russell Q3 for the first time in his Formula 1 career. But come race day, Verstappen will be victorious, Perez P2, Hamilton P3. He has also gone with Mazepin to be the first DNF, a very popular choice for this weekend's race. Alonso on Raikkonen, crikey, that's a flashback to the mid-2000s, to be the best overtake of the Grand Prix, and George Russell to be driver of the day. And that is it from me here in Monaco for this weekend's practice report. As always, if you are new, feel free to subscribe. If you enjoy, hit that like button. It really helps out the channel. Any feedback, leave it in the comment section down below. But thank you all very much for watching. Enjoy the race, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.